The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
One.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs. We are here on our Sunday time slot. Sorry we've missed you the last 2 weeks, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What a Super Bowl. That was
unbelievable.
Crazy.
Really fast, right? Went with 10 guys, right? 3 of the guys were in a special box pool. You know, the score has to end a certain way. So they needed the 2-point conversion at the end. We were screaming at the TV.
And they got it.
Kansas City gets it. They win $20,000.
Holy smokes.
Now,
So
that's a Vegas story.
they go to Vegas every single year with his friends. They didn't never miss it.
Of course, I wasn't in that, but they were.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that is so much fun.
Great. That was fantastic.
Okay. But anyway, we're back and we are so happy to see you, and we're here to help you because there's a lot of chaos going on,
A lot
right?
of misinformation going on too right now.
So we are very happy with our sponsors. They make this all happen, and of course you. Our best sponsors have been with us for years and years and years, and we are truly happy to have them, especially Best Roofing, and which is our Diamonds sponsor,
Yep.
which we love, Diamond sponsor.
Been with us from the beginning.
And they help you all the time.
Absolutely.
Best Roofing. So I'm here with attorney Eric Glazer. He is board certified in Community Association Law by the Florida Bar Association, and he has offices here in Hollywood and also in Orlando. We're also here each week to answer all your calls and questions that make life in your condominium absolutely crazy from 1 minute to the next. So give us a call. We will answer your questions. It would be one question per caller. 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717 452-9378. Can you tell it's been 2 weeks? And of course, you can visit us on our channel, which you're watching us on right now, and ask questions in the chat box.
Yeah, great to be back, everybody. And of course, if you're a fan of the show, don't forget to do 2 things. Subscribe to one, the Condo Craze and HOAs channel on YouTube, again, where you don't have to just watch the show live. You can watch any of our prior shows at your convenience, and subscribe to our email list at condo-laws.com, again, condo-laws.com, or condocrazeandhoas.com. By subscribing to our email list, you can get announcements about the show, our seminars, which we had a wild and crazy week with our seminars this week, changes to the law, and a lot more, and we're on social.
Oh, yeah, of course we are. We're even on TikTok, which is back. You can...
It is back.
Yeah,
right?
get it downloaded. Apple, Spotify, on Facebook as well, and Twitter as well. So
we'll also do a blog every single Monday, hoa-condoblog.com. Again, hoa-condoblog.com. And tomorrow's topic, the critics were all wrong. Mandatory education has deterred nobody, right? I mean, as you will hear.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I just want to thank the nearly 800 people that showed up for our 2 classes this week.
That's 400.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. First one was in West Palm Beach, and the second was in Tampa. To say it was a mob scene is an understatement. Standing room only. The rooms were set up to hold 350.
This should tell you something. It's really very nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's encouraging for you.
Absolutely, and as you'll see, obviously, in the blog. By the way, Robert, it's not on hoa.condoblog.com anymore. It's on our website. It's on condocrazeandhoas.com. I made that mistake. The blog is now condocrazeandhoas.com.
Oh, so it's all in one place.
All in one place.
Well, that's smart.
Right, a lot simpler. Well, Rob's a smart guy, right?
Thank God for Rob, because
Yes.
it's Glazer, Sachs, and Listman.
Listman, right. He asked for that. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a mob scene. It was really insane. We literally had people standing all over the place. And like we said, tomorrow's topic is, did mandatory education deter anybody from running for the board? What do you think? Absolutely nobody.
Now, are you going to have a course in Miami?
I think we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's sitting out there with, it seems, nobody really teaching them, I believe.
And they
so
have
we got to try it.
They have their own, the county's own law.
They only
which,
own law,
which
right?
are really strict.
Which is different than what's going on in the other counties. So yeah, Dade County, you do need some TLC. No two ways about it. I agree with you. All right, we started a topic 2 weeks ago, but we had some technical difficulties. So let's go back to where we left off. And we were saying at the time, there are certain years that have a lot more significance than others, just when you mention them. And a couple of examples we gave. 1963, right, when Kennedy was assassinated, you know that automatically. 1969 is obviously a big one, when the men landed on the moon. And I said when the Mets won the World Series, when the Jets won the Super Bowl, the last freaking time they won the Super Bowl, unfortunately, 2001.
Broadway Joe.
Broadway Joe, the terrorist attack at the World Trade Center in 2001. 2020 will always be remembered for the outbreak of something called COVID, right?
Oh.
And here in Florida, of course, the 2021, the collapse of the Champlain Towers in Surfside, killing 98 innocent men, women, and children. And I think this year, where we are right now, 2025, is going to be remembered as the year in Florida that condominium law really changed forever. And when Floridians living in condominiums had to start dealing with massive changes in condominium law regarding mandatory inspections, mandatory reserves, mandatory repairs, and for so many, how it became financially difficult to continue living here.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
And then you fired off a letter when the legislature failed to do anything for safety to the governor and said, if another building falls, it's on you. Well, then, of course, as a result of the tragedy, and I think your letter as well, the Florida legislature made a promise to Floridians that another Surfside will never happen again. And these laws were passed by a vote of 110 to 0.
Yeah, it
that
was.
is unanimous.
Yeah, exact, totally. And, of course, the obvious was addressed by the Florida legislature, like you say, Karen, the fact that so many condominiums were not funding any reserve accounts. It was kind of crazy that that was allowed to happen since time began with condominiums. That was insane.
It was the money that became due, and that's what you said on 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes, yeah. So a new law was passed, and it's a requirement to fund reserves for any condominium that's 3 stories or taller, as we now know, and that's based upon your structural integrity reserve study that needed to be prepared by an architect, engineer, or someone with CAI credentials, and it needed to be completed. Now, it's interesting to do the show now, after the new year. Why? Because the time period has now passed. You had to do that by December 31st, 2024.
The Sears.
Yeah, the Sears, right, the reserve study, correct.
And then fund the reserves.
And
you had a year.
You could have, if you could have waived it for 2025
time.
if you did it on time. If you didn't do it, you better be reserving them
Yeah,
right now.
if you did not do it yet, you are now late and in violation of Florida law.
Right, that's the bottom line at this point. So I'm very happy to say if you're in a condo 3 stories or more, any condominium budget that you will do from now on for all eternity, you have to include mandatory reserves based on the results of your structural integrity reserve study. And you no longer, that's it, you no longer have the ability to waive reserves for any of those items in the structural integrity reserve study. Got to do it.
So where I live, we are fine, and it's not a pet, we're good.
Yeah.
But this too shall pass if you're in a tall building and you find, oh my gosh, we have, but now you've ripped the Band-Aid off. Now
Correct.
you're paying.
Correct.
It's going to get better and better and better, and you're going to be in a safe building.
Absolutely. Look, I said this from the beginning. If you've been doing the right thing in your condo, if you've been putting away money for reserves, if you've been making the repairs, these new laws really not going to affect you at all because you're already doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you do it now, it's going to be a matter of time, but it will get better.
Absolutely. I agree.
So here's the Structural Integrity Reserve Study Law and its components.
Yeah, let us know.
A residential condominium association must have a structural integrity reserve study completed at least every 10 years after the condominium's creation for each building on the condominium property that is 3 stories or higher in height, which would include a underground garage?
No, the way I understand the rule, it's where you not underground, but if the first floor, the level floor, is a garage, yes, that's going to count.
Okay. So as determined by the Florida Building Code, which includes a a study of the following items as related to the structural integrity and safety of the building.
Yeah, so just to review, these are the things that are going to go into your structural integrity reserve study, right? And an architect or engineer or someone with CAI credentials is going to come out, and here's the things that they're going to inspect, and here's the things that they're going to put in their report. The roof, the structure, including load-bearing walls and other primary structural members, fireproofing and fire protection systems, plumbing, electrical systems, waterproofing and exterior painting, windows and exterior doors if the association is responsible for that, and any other item that has a deferred maintenance expense or replacement cost that exceeds $10,000 and the failure to replace or maintain it negatively affects the other items that I just mentioned. So there's a lot of things that are going to go into the structural integrity reserve study now, none of which you can waive going forward.
Well, this fireproofing, though, the protection systems, that's a whole other deal.
Yep.
And it's now also involved in this.
Right, correct.
So, and for the condo associations that have ignored funding for years and decades, your bill has come due, to quote you.
It has, and for many, it's going to be expensive. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be expensive. For those of you who thought it was a bad idea to put money away for a rainy day because you might not be alive at the time, the bad news is you lived. That's the reality.
So there's the thought that, oh my gosh, I won't even be around if I spend this money now.
Well, medicine got better. You lived, and now, and unfortunately, you have to pay up.
So there were 3 special sessions in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And the legislature says we are not dealing with this condo thing. They did pass immigration.
Right, exactly.
They got tough on that, but they
won't address condominium law.
Will they do it in the regular session that starts in March?
Maybe, but we thought, Governor DeSantis might get his way and they might address it in the special session. But interestingly enough, I think we all learned over the past 2 weeks that perhaps Governor DeSantis isn't as persuasive as we thought right now in Tallahassee. It was very interesting to watch this.
Yes.
His stance on immigration was quickly shot down in the Florida legislature.
Well, he didn't get all the power.
He didn't get it.
There's a board of 4 that will be able to do it.
He wanted much more power. Yeah. From that. And we also know that the House and Senate leadership, they made it very clear. They have no desire whatsoever to change condominium laws, at least in that special session. They're not going to go near it.
Well, they were unanimous in their vote.
Absolutely, and that's the bottom line. So, no, again, I keep saying it on the show time and time again, I do not think that any of these new laws are going to be changed. None of them, none.
But they could come back with some way to help pay.
I don't, maybe, but I don't want to give anybody a false hope out there. Right. No, I was taking a position is, no, none of these laws are changing. You've got to deal with it.
You sound like a parent.
Right. Well, am I the parent? No, never mind. No.
You're the daddy.
You're right. But no, I don't think any of these new laws are changing. I mean, you're going to have to deal with it one way or another. But let's hear what our viewers have to say. Give us a call here in the studio, 717-GLAZER-8. Again, 717-GLAZER-8. 717-452-9378, or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. We'll be back right after this.
There are very large management companies, and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Okay, welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis, Eric Glazer, he is the attorney. He's board certified in community association law. We just kind of told you everything that you need to know about the SEERs and making sure that you do a reserve study and everything. So now it's your turn to give us a call, ask us a question. The number is 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378.
Hey, before we go to the phones, I just want to say that the comments that I get at the seminars about the show warms my heart.
Oh, good.
I mean it. Guys, they love the show.
Oh, gosh.
And as long as you keep loving it, we'll keep doing it. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in each Sunday. First call, Rob.
All right, let's go to Helen from Miami.
Helen, how are you?
Miami.
Miami, there we go.
Hello.
Hey, Helen, good morning.
Good morning. I'll be at your seminar in Fort Lauderdale on Tuesday and can't wait.
Thank you so much.
Very
What's
nice.
going on?
Well, so I live in a condo association in Miami, and the situation is that we got a new management company last February 24. And I'm trying to tie it into your topic today because it's so important. We have no information from the prior management company, no records of anything, including if we ever had a SEER study done. So we've redone it at a very high cost. These are not cheap. So what can one do in a situation like this where basically no information is available for any of the years prior to whenever a new management company takes over?
This is the wrong time for management companies to play that game.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Can they do it legally?
because no, they can't hold on to your records, no matter what, because there's now statutes in effect that make them financially liable to the tune of potentially, I think, up to $20,000. So, you might want to remind them of that. And I can tell you the DBPR has heard stories and stories and stories about management companies not turning over records that are due. And by law, again, they must turn them over, I believe, within 20 days of them no longer being with your association. And if not, and you put in a complaint with the DBPR against them for failing to turn over the records, you're talking about potential loss of licensure.
Yeah.
So it's really not a joke for management companies to take that chance anymore and fail to turn over records, because they're gambling a lot on it now that nothing's going to happen to them. And now, if the DBPR is doing their thing, they're going to lose. If not, we need Elon Musk. That's the bottom line.
Doge.
Yeah. So, at this point, they need to be really, really careful about failing to turn over the records. Have they even responded? Have they said why they're not turning over records?
Well, the new management company is basically saying that they don't have them. I don't know if that's a good enough excuse on their end either, but can a unit owner request these records of the previous management company?
The unit owners can only request records of the association. But here's what's interesting. So there's a new records statute that's in effect that says, let's say you make a request of records from the association. It's not enough for the association now to say, we don't have them, right? There's a lot of records that the association is required to maintain by law now for 7 years, right? So let's say, I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say that you go in now and you ask for a copy of an insurance policy from the year 2000. Well, that's 5 years old. Technically, they're supposed to have it, right? You have to maintain records for 7 years. So it's not enough for the association to say, well, we don't have it, sorry. Under the new statute, the association has an obligation to make an effort to go get it. So used to be able to say, sorry, hey, we don't have it. Now the association has to show, well, what did they do to try to get this official record that they're supposed to have, but they don't?
Show their effort. Now, does it go back 7 years on the website with the things that are posted on the website?
If they're required to post it on the website, the answer is yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yes. So, yes, unit owners can ask for it, but not from the prior management company. They can only ask for records from the association.
And they have to get it or make an effort.
Correct, or at least make an effort. Not only that, in a condominium, now they even have to give you a checklist showing what you asked for and whether they turned it over to you or not.
Or find-
records are no longer really not a joke in
No.
condominiums anymore. It's a really big deal. So Helen, I hope that answers the question. We got to run to the next call. Lots of people behind you. Thanks for calling.
All right, next caller would be Tom from West Palm Beach.
Hey Tom, good morning.
Okay, I'm going to go with a little pace here. I'm a Philadelphia CPA who purchased a condo in West Palm Beach in 2020.
Wait a minute. He's calling. He
so
said Philadelphia CPA, and we got to wish him at least congratulations
Yeah.
on the Eagles.
Go
No,
Birds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It
Our-
changes the feel of the city.
Hey, well, did they go crazy and like loot and burn the city this time, or no? They behaved.
No, they were
Because
okay.
Philadelphia fans are nuts.
Everything is relative.
They go crazy
Everything
if
is
they win
relative.
or they lose. Right. Okay. Back to your
that's
calls.
true. All right, so I thought I had seen it all being from Philadelphia. So a few months ago, I prepared a notice of intent to run for our board, which included a candidate information form.
Right.
And so that you have more info in order to discuss the topic, I was on the board in 2023. I exposed the association for various violations of law, and a retaliation campaign ensued, attempting to recall me from the board. I filed a petition then and was reinstated to the board. They recalled me a second time 6 days later. As I'm sure you're aware, a condo is able to use unit owner recall ballots a second time.
Correct.
And even though I had grounds for a second petition, as most of the recall ballots were obtained using incorrigible tactics, I didn't appeal as the term was shortly ending. So this year, I provided notice I would be a candidate again and included a candidate information form. Someone under the guise of it being from the board requested a legal opinion about my form only and not the others. That legal letter disseminated my entire candidate information form and then was published to the entire community prior to the election. This is true. Last week, I sent a notice of intent to file a petition of arbitration for election interference to the association.
Right.
The association has not posted it to the unit owners and did not address it in the last week's board meeting.
Well,
So
they
my
removed him
question is,
twice.
Wait. Let me ask you this, because maybe I'm getting perhaps confused on one thing. You sent in a notice of intent and a resume, for lack of a better term, right?
Candidate information.
Candidate information sheet. Okay.
Yes,
Bottom
and
line
I
is
did it in the
this.
same delivery instead of waiting 5 more days as I could
There's
have.
nothing that says you have to wait 5 more days. You can send it back at the same time. That's insanity.
Well, no, that's not. The issue is that another person running from the board who is aligned with some board members
Right.
received notice of what was contained in my candidate information form.
Right.
And so as all the candidate information forms went out in bulk, that individual wrote, contained in my candidate information form is. So that person had first advance notice of my candidate information form. Then the association went after that and obtained a legal letter, which was under the guise as a legal opinion, which referenced my name 29 times.
I have a headache.
Yeah, me too.
And did not reference anybody else's candidate information form as
But
to
they
it.
removed you twice.
And then they published the letter.
Could you repeat that, please?
And then they published the attorney's letter.
Yes, they published the attorney letter.
So
prior
it
to
made
the
you
election.
look like you were not really eligible to serve on the board, I guess.
They concluded that all, as you both already know, all candidate information forms are to be delivered to the community
Right.
without altering, editing, etc.
Right. And why did they publish that?
But it didn't. I don't know. I mean, they published it because they, under the guise that the unit owners should have more information available to
Right.
them in order to make a thorough decision.
Let me ask you this: when they
Which
did the
was
second
basically
notice,
disputing my candidate information form.
so when they did the second notice, right? When they sent everything to everybody, including the ballots and your notice of intent, did they send out your candidate information sheet with it?
Yes, unaltered at that point.
Unaltered at that point. So the question is,
Yeah.
did the attorney's letter that they published harm you in any way?
That is the question, or does it? What I've read is that the association may not comment
That's correct.
or influence or take a position on a condo board election.
That's right.
So the association paid thousands of dollars to the law firm in order to get a 2.5-page letter
Right.
disseminating a single unit owner's candidate
Right.
information.
You know what? You know what the real problem is? Number one, I think it's going to be difficult for you because the letter of the law was not really violated here. All they did was get an attorney's opinion. And don't get me wrong, I think it tarnished your ability to get elected. That's not the point. But they didn't violate the strict letter of the law, number one. So I think it's going to be hard to win. But let's say you do win, right? Let's take it one step further and the arbitrator says you win. Do the election again, right? Does it matter? Because the cat's out of the bag anyway. They already badmouthed you. They already made you look bad.
What your statement
You can't unring the bell.
Yeah, you can't unring the bell. That's exactly right. So
the bell could be partially unrung by holding people accountable for sending that letter out.
So if the board was asked by an arbitrator to send a letter out to everybody that said we were wrong and we unfortunately we tarnished the election and we're told now we got to say I'm sorry or whatever the hell the arbitrator says, is that going to be enough? I don't know. But, in my humble opinion, I think it's going to be tough to even win that case because they did, in fact, comply with the letter of the law by sending out your candidate information sheet.
But if he wins again, they'll just kick him off again.
They can try that, too. That's exactly right.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
I know.
Philadelphians are a little bit persistent.
You're from the land of the Declaration of Independence,
That's right. And
where
the broken bell.
Constitution is, right. I don't think you're not going to give up. Hell no. I wish you luck, buddy. Okay?
Thank you. Have a nice
Take
day.
care.
Bye.
Who else we got, Rob?
Let's go to our next caller. They didn't leave a name. If you hear a beat, you are live.
Okay, who do we got?
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Karen.
Morning.
This is Julia from Hollandale.
Hey, Julia, good morning.
My name. I don't know why it didn't come through. Anyway, I think 2025 will be remembered for a little more than condo laws.
Sure.
Look at those findings. Anyway.
I'm with you. I agree.
On the topic, go ahead.
No, you know what bothers me? Not to get on the topic of politics, but I just don't understand why everybody is not on the same page on this one. We're finding governmental spending on insane things, right?
It's like when your wife asks you to look at your phone.
She better not ask
She doesn't want to look at you. You don't want her to look at your phone.
Right.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening, right? You don't want her to look. Correct.
Elon Musk
They don't
is
want
looking
you
at
to
the
look
phone.
and see what's going on. But if you're seeing crazy expenses going to other countries for insane things, why isn't everybody on the same page that we should all be outraged that that's happening to us and our
they're gonna
tax
be
dollars
found
are
out
being
on
spent
something.
on that? I don't get it. Not everything should be just hate. On certain things, it should be thank you. Here, thanks for finding that out. Okay, back to you. I'm sorry.
All right. So on the topic of reserves, I'm sorry to tell you that the board members in my condo are fooling the owners into believing that the laws may be changed. They're just getting some sympathy this way. It's disgusting. That's just the comment. My question is, when the contractors work on individual condos, they file insurance with the association for the benefit of association. That's nice. That's appropriate. We have a situation where the CAM put out a new form where he included his own company as a beneficiary in addition to the association. To me, that looks inappropriate. What do you say?
When you say he's a beneficiary of what type of policy, what are we talking about?
That if there is some damage to whatever.
I don't understand that. I'll tell you where that comes in, where the manager is listed as an additional insured. Typically, if when you sign a contract between an association and the management company wants to make sure that should the association and the management company get sued for negligence. So, for example, let's say someone trips and falls on the property. Typically, they're going to sue the association, and they're also going to sue the management company for failing to maintain the place properly. So what's common in a contract is that the management company requires that the association in their insurance policy list the management company as an additional insured, so that that insurance policy covers everybody. That's very common. Okay, so if that's what you're talking about, no big deal.
Nope, I'm talking about the condo contractors working on individual units.
Condo contractors.
Redoing their cases, redoing.
And they're a beneficiary?
Yeah, redoing their.
That makes no sense to me, and that's something I'd want to ask the condominium attorney as to why in the world that's happening.
Yeah, how'd they
and
allow
why
it?
is the association potentially insuring the manager in that regard for working on individual units? That's something that whoever's doing the work, that's something that they should be carrying their own insurance for, because they're working on individual units. I think, Julia, that's where you're headed, right?
Yep.
And I agree with you.
So
100% right. That really has nothing to do with the manager in that regard. I think I have to agree. The manager, manager shouldn't be involved in that whatsoever.
By the way, Julia brings up a good point in her first comment, and Rob, you know this about the boards, that she's saying that the boards are telling them that you're going to get, help from the legislature, but what are the boards happening where you're moving? They have a different story. They're being told you're going to be kicked off or not voted in, right? If you don't, because you're charging us money. People are blaming the board.
I think there's a lot of confusion right now with all the expenses that people are facing, and they don't know if it's new expenses or Florida law requirements, and a lot of people are just blaming their board no matter what, even if it is Florida.
So no wonder they're lying to you.
Yeah, I mean, if people think that it's their board's fault as to why their assessments are going up, they are absolutely wrong. If your assessments are going up, that means your board is probably doing the right thing that they're required to do by law. I think the three of us certainly agree on that. So
but you should get everything in the mail. I got everything in the mail that said this is the SERS, this is what it was.
Absolutely, yeah. When you do a new budget, absolutely,
Yeah.
there should be no secrets.
Exactly.
Including a copy of your SERS report.
Yeah.
So that's required to be distributed to everybody.
So don't blame the board.
No, it has nothing to do with the board, but we got to take our bottom of the hour break. Taking your calls, everybody, 717-452-9378, or drop us a question or comment in the chat box. We'll be back right after this.
Rimkus Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
Okay, welcome back to our second half hour of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel of the same name. We are, boy, the chat box is blowing up. We're taking the phones, but I just wanted to go with one from Miami.
Sure.
Rabinowitz, where are you? Oh, man, there's so many I can't find. Oh, here he is. Okay, so he says, if Dade and Broward had to do the 40-year, I just scanned up because more people are adding, I'm sorry. They're wondering why they have to do the Sears for the whole state, because Dade and Broward have their own.
Dade and Broward, in terms of the structural integrity reserve study,
right?
Dade and Broward are the same as the whole state
Okay,
for that.
so there
for
you
the
go.
structural integrity reserve. In other words, if it's 3 stories or more, Dade and Broward, you have to do the same structural integrity reserve study as everybody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Where Dade and Broward differ from the rest of the state have to do what's called milestone inspections.
Right.
Okay. Once you hit 30 years and every 10 years thereafter. In Dade and Broward, and that happens when it's 3 stories or more.
Okay.
The rest of the state is based on height. Dade and Broward for safety inspections, right, is based on square footage. Okay, so I don't remember exactly the requirements, but Dade, you need like you need to pass a building recertification, not a milestone inspection, and that's if the building is approximately like 2,000 square feet.
Which, of
height
course it will.
doesn't matter. Height has nothing to do with it. So you can have 3 condominium units attached to each other in Dade and Broward. Even though it's not 3 stories in height, it could be 1 story, you're going to go through your building recertification. Okay? That's the difference between Dade and Broward and the remainder of the state. And the big difference also is in the remainder of the state, you only have to pass structural. In Dade and Broward, you have to pass structural and electrical.
Oh.
A lot harder in Dade and Broward than it is in the other, I think, 65 counties or so.
I hope that helps you, Robert.
Want to take one comment from here from George. Good morning, question for the show. What can we do if we find that 2 board members falsified their board certification certificates? One made a copy of his to create one for his buddy. Yeah, stuff like that can happen. If the board knows for sure that it was in fact falsified, then the bottom line is they did not get certified within 90 days of getting on the board, and they are off the board. So you treat them as if they are off the board.
So the certificate that you print up for everybody,
right?
That's the proof that you were certified.
That's the proof, correct.
And it's like a big deal because you have to do one personally for everyone. You hand it to them.
It's an official record. Not only that, and everybody better hone in on this. The one thing that a big change in the law this year was the DBPR is creating a form that the individual board members will have to swear to and say they actually took the class.
So that's perjury.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
If you're swearing on a state form that you took the class and you didn't, I look at it, it's potential perjury. And let me tell you something. If that happened, someone should be prosecuted under it.
So the certificate you give out, is that an official record?
That's an official record,
okay,
absolutely.
There you go.
It's got to be maintained by the management company, your secretary, and you can maintain the original or a copy. But anybody in the association can get a copy of that.
Right.
And it's required that it goes up on the website.
Okay, and so this guy...
If maybe he
forged
a signature, forged his name, we don't know. But someone getting caught doing that, yes, they should be prosecuted. If not, then all this is meaningless.
It's so much better to take the course.
Right, don't you think? No, but some people are
gosh.
just lazy and they think they know more than the class instructor.
Yeah.
So, why do it? Who else we got, Rob?
Let's go to the next caller, Christine from Tampa.
Good morning, Christine.
Hi everyone.
Good
How are
morning.
you? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing.
Hey, I have a quick question. I kind of consider myself the Elon Musk of the board. I am a board member.
Good.
Recently,
3 of the 5 board members voted to give the president unilateral spending authority for up to $3,500 at a time.
Okay.
There's no oversight, no board approval. So I'm just wondering, I said, let's at least get a legal opinion on it. I feel like that's a breach of fiduciary duty on its face. So I just wanted your opinion.
I think $3,500 is kind of high, but I'll tell you what normally happens, let's say with management companies, right? Management companies, for example, and I'm just trying to compare it and contrast it with the president. Management companies typically have something in their contract that says you're giving them the authority to spend up to a certain amount of money without bothering the board of directors. For example, the management company needs supplies in the office, or they need tools, or they need whatever it is. They're not going to bother the association board of directors every time they need the authority to spend some of the association's money. So typically there's something in their contract that says the manager can spend up to $1,000, $1,500 without bothering the members of the board.
Maybe they need to buy eggs.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. So the question is, should the president of the board have $3,500 spending authority? I think that's a lot of money.
Yeah, there's no limit, there's no cap, and there's no, it wasn't for in case of emergency.
Right, I mean, what is it for?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Right, and I would think that $3,500 could be for a certain contract throughout the year, whatever it may be. And I think all contracts should be approved by the board of directors, the entire board of directors.
Right.
So no, I think $3,500 is pretty high.
What would you put it at?
Well, whatever it is, the type of number that you need just to buy things spur of the moment. You know what I'm saying? $1,000.
It's like petty cash,
15,
right?
Like a petty cash.
$3,500 for petty cash is a bit much.
Exactly. Right? $3,500 for petty. Why? To me, that tells me that the other board members really don't want to be bothered at all. They don't want to do their job at all.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, and so give them $10,000.
Sure,
right?
why not?
So no, I mean, I think $3,500 is high. Maybe $500, $1,000. You want to go crazy? Okay, $1,500. Just to the authority to spend things on, like you say, petty cash type items, not $3,500. I think that's way too high. Okay, but we are running late.
But do you think that's okay for the president to have that, or
no,
should
no,
just
no,
stick
I don't
with the
think,
management company?
No, I think it's okay for the president also to have spending power. $500, $1,000, $1,500. I think that's fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. But $3,500, yeah, I think that's way too high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it. Let's take our
Have a great
final
day.
break of the hour. Taking your calls, 717-452-9378, or drop us a question in the chat box on YouTube. Back right after this.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. Visit pd-concrete.com or call us today.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
And we are back for our final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. If you want to call in, ask Eric a question. He's board certified in Community Association Law. The number is 717-452-9378. We're talking about, how much money should people have, a president or the management company, just at their fingertips. How about spending $1 under $5,000 written to cash?
If there are checks that are going for $4,999 payable to cash in your association, you have a problem. You have a major problem, because that should never be happening. And I can tell you, any CPA that comes to your community when it's time to do your year-end financial report, they're not going to be able to track that $4,999 properly.
Because who endorsed it?
Yeah, and when they do their audit, I can guarantee you there's probably going to be some language in there that says we cannot fully complete your audit because we don't know where all this money was spent. You should never, ever be allowing that type of dollars to be spent in cash, because that's only signs, can only lead to theft of funds for that kind of money.
And these are the same people that are depositing $9,999
right,
into their bank account.
Correct, to avoid detection by the IRS.
Are they laundering money? Therefore, they need to.
I'm not saying there's money laundering, at the association, but if $4,999 is going out in cash, do I worry about there being theft? 100%.
Yeah.
No two ways about it.
It seems
absolutely
a bit fishy.
Absolutely fishy. I got no problem saying it. That's something that should never be happening. There's no reason to take cash out at that much money. If you want to use a credit card that belongs to the association, fine. You want to write a check that's payable to a specific entity, fine. Cash, absolutely not. Never.
As for the other caller, we had, I forgot his name.
The accountant from Philly.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. He had like 2 recalls, or they kicked him off the board twice. He's running again, and the board had an attorney write a letter. Some of our people on our chat box say, dude, if an attorney's writing a letter, there must be something going on here. You need to stay off that board.
I think that's a KC fan who lost the freaking Super Bowl and is trying to create something terrible about him. Just because an attorney, for the association writes a letter about somebody.
It's not a red flag?
No, that's not necessarily a red flag,
It's a green flag.
Hate to say it, but, sometimes you have a situation where attorneys back the board, no matter what.
No matter what.
As a matter of fact, there's a brand new statute this year that prohibits the board from taking any retaliation against people who live in the condominium, who submit a complaint to a government agency, who submit a complaint to the board itself, who stand up at a meeting and talk negative things about the board, and they have a right to do all of that under their First Amendment rights and to redress grievances with the government, etc. Now, why would such a statute need to be created?
Because retaliation
if you didn't have attorneys helping the board retaliate.
So if this guy has been retaliated against, what can he do?
You can go march right into court and get a court order preventing them from doing that.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely.
There you go. You've been retaliated
and the
against.
court and the statute says it can specifically be used as a defense in any lawsuit as well.
Oh,
okay?
Wow.
Statute says
Huge.
it. All right, I got one here. Robert writes in, if a special assessment is called and there is a surplus from the assessment, does it stay in the budget line? No.
No, it goes back to you.
Law is pretty clear. Exactly. We spoke about this many times. Law is very clear. When you do a special assessment, the funds for the special assessment must be used for the purposes of that special assessment. If there's leftover, it goes back to the unit owners.
As a check for cash.
Yes, or it could be used as to apply towards future assessments. So it can be used to bring down your assessments going forward. Robert, back to the phone.
But does it have to be for the purpose for which it was?
Yeah, but if it's not, if you use it up, right?
Okay.
If you took care of the
And it's
purpose for which it was
leftover.
intended, so it could be used going forward to bring down your assessments. Then
All
it
of
could
them?
be, yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right, next caller is Richard from Miami.
Richard, how are you?
Hi, yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
2 questions. One has to do with all the legislation and the scrutiny going around regarding illegal immigration, I wanted to understand what the responsibilities the boards may have for allowing contractors that use potential illegal immigrants to in the communities.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there for a
vetting?
second. Okay, let's stop there. For a
What about
second.
people living in the in there?
All right, hold on. Let's
That
talk
was my
about-
second question.
Okay.
Okay. So let's
question.
stop for a second. There's at least for HOAs, there's a new law that says now you can't stop an HOA member from having somebody come to their house, right? A, who's not on a preferred vendor list from the association, or B, can't show proof of a license, can't show proof of insurance or anything like that. HOAs can't even do that anymore. Okay? So does an HOA or a condo have any responsibility whatsoever to make sure that the people that are working there are all United States citizens? I don't think they do at all.
Does Kaufman language apply?
To this type of a situation?
This new law.
I don't. This guy, and that's a great question.
Yeah.
Does Kaufman to
other
the
thing is
HOA?
you can call. You can
Yes.
call. There's a 1-800 number you can call if you want to report somebody.
And that's it. Look, but I don't think the HOA or the condo has a responsibility to check, unless some accountant out there or an attorney who does immigration might be listening
Well,
correctly.
can you be busted if you allow it? Can the board member
Could
be
it
busted?
be? I don't know. I don't know if that's the law. I don't
Can
know
you
if that's
call
the
home and
new
come
law.
Around
Yeah.
the HOA contracting vendors to work on the common elements, not so much individual unit.
How can you be, and I'm just talking from the condo or HOA side, let's say you have a major project, right, and you hire a construction company to do the work. They can send 50 people to your site. You're supposed to know if every one of those 50 people are in the country legally?
The onus
No
is
chance.
not on you.
How can it be? How can it be? Someone on the board is going to say, "Site stop. I want to see papers for everybody that's working." Insanity. There's no way that can be the law. I don't know, in all candor, what just happened in the last legislative session. I'm not familiar with everything that passed and that was signed by the governor, but I can't imagine that it would require our associations to do that.
Well, it requires. Here's what the legislation said: no more reduction in tuition for.
That I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you're here illegally, you need to be removed. I mean, you can't. But you have the Commissioner of Agriculture on the
Right.
board that, along with the governor, to decide things.
But in terms of
And
a
then
condo
on
or HOA,
Karen's observation of the HOA approving, based on the application process, approving people that are not able to prove that they are in the country legally.
Great question. And this happens all the time. Some boards, I will tell you, and I guess, in all candor, it depends. And I'm not giving you the legal, well, I'm going to give you the legal answer. But it depends sometimes who's on the board. Sometimes you get more liberal people on the board and they couldn't give a damn. Sometimes you'll get more conservative people on the board and I'll get calls. They can't prove their citizenship. And, well, if the board has the right to screen, approve, deny, is one of the reasons
Right.
why,
Is that
because they
good?
can't prove citizenship in the country. I don't know. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if that's reason enough. I think boards have a right to reject people that are moving into the community for a couple of reasons. One, if they pose a threat to the health, welfare, and safety of the other members of the community.
What if they're a
No-
member of a gang? Like the
Of course, obviously, you could reject people for the health, welfare, and safety
Okay.
of the community, right? No problem. You can also reject them if it's obvious that they don't have the financial resources to pay the assessments, perhaps. No problem. But can you reject somebody because they can't prove that they're in fact born here and a citizen here? I don't know. I think I could argue with that. No, you don't have the ability to do that. And
Really?
you're talking to someone, I think everybody knows I'm kind of conservative, but I don't think there's anything in the 718, 720,
Right,
or
there's-
in a declaration that would allow you to do that, unless The declarations were specifically amended to say you're not getting in here unless you can prove citizenship. Then, okay, maybe. But if that's not in your declaration or bylaws or what, then I don't think you have the right to do it.
And what if
No.
you have Kaufman?
And potentially whether you not. Well, I don't know if Kaufman would apply here if you amend your declaration.
Okay, then.
If your declaration says that's something you can
Okay.
reject somebody for, okay, 75% of the people voted for that. I think you can probably do that. But if it's not in your governing documents, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay? But good question. I think it's a great call. Who else we got?
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Let's go to Ray. Is this Skylake?
How are you, Ray?
Yes. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Okay. How can we help?
Eric, you and I spoke previously about this issue where I had a recall ballot and I was ousted from the association. That was back in March of last year, and since then, the new administration has been reluctant to let me examine the records, including records of the people who are now on premise doing flood reparations that we had back on June 12th.
Okay.
I've sent the letter, and in fact, I found the president dodging the mail lady to keep from receiving the letter, but it was by the condo's current lawyer. He mentioned that he would be getting those records to me right away when he found out I made those requests by email and by mail.
Yes.
So far, nothing at all. And I've gone to the extremes of filing a complaint with the DBPR.
Right.
Also with the Dade State's Attorney's Office, trying to get hold of the Dade Sheriff's Office for help. And also I just recently was able to contact Jason Pizzo's office and send them a copy of the DPR complaint, which I filed with them.
Right.
Now, at this point, I know the wheels turn slow. I can understand they're probably very much over inundated with requests in similar circumstances to this. But we do need some clarity because at this moment, we have almost $2 million in the bank, $1.5 million, that newfound money. From
Okay,
that
so a
flood claim
couple
that was
things.
paid.
So there's one thing that you didn't do. And the one thing you didn't do is that you didn't file an arbitration action against the association for failing to give you access to those records.
Just because he's recalled doesn't mean he doesn't have a right as an
Of course
owner
he does,
to have the
absolutely.
information.
So you could
Retaliation.
file an arbitration action against the association. Your case would be assigned to an arbitrator. And if what you're saying pans out, then the arbitrator is going to issue an injunction requiring the association to turn over the records, right? Issue potentially a $500 penalty against the association and have them pay all your attorney's fees and costs. So that's the one thing you didn't
who
do.
do I file that arbitration request with?
That's, again, with the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Division of Condominiums. Now, if you have never done that before, you may want to think about getting an attorney to do that. But, again, that's something that you have the right to do. The other ways that you decided to address this problem and tackle it are going to take a long time if it's addressed at all that way. Okay? That's not a knock to Senator Pizzo. Just on the contrary, he's a busy guy. And by the way, as long as his name came up, Senator Pizzo just agreed to be a guest on the show. And Robert's taking care of that, and hopefully that's something that's going to happen in the next week or two.
I was monitoring the hearing.
Yes.
He was very vociferous during that hearing about these new laws.
Senator Pizzo, is bright
very,
guy.
And it's attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Democrat, in a difficult spot. He's a Democrat in a completely Republican legislature.
Right.
But let me tell you what he says about whether or not the legislature should make it easier now for people and just do away with some of the safety laws, do away with some of the reserve laws. You know what his line is? I'm not going to steal it from him. It's his line. Mother Nature never loses. Mother Nature never loses.
Really good.
Yeah, that all of these things eventually go bad, and he is not in favor of changing anything. Nothing.
Good.
So I can tell you, if he's not in favor of it, it's not going to happen. Okay? So here you have, the point is you have Republicans and Democrats aligned on this issue.
Right.
So it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's take one more call, and then we'll call it a day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, let's go to Mary Lou from Naples.
Mary Lou.
How are you, Mary Lou?
Oh, I'm just fine, and I can make this real quick because I know time is limited. Our community is a small one, 64 doors. We have 8 buildings of 2 stories.
Condo?
Our previous Yes, they're condos, and they are 2 stories. They are, the tile roofs, stucco construction, and all that stuff, and they're approaching about 23, 24 years old. Our previous board went ahead following the plan to do the Sears inspection, and they also had the financial reserve study. The financial reserve study was done by the same accounting firm that did it for our master association, of which we are embedded. And they gave them a list of a lot of things to supposedly reserve for. But are we bound by those because we don't quite meet the criteria of the law? They did it to be proactive, sort of ahead of the game. We are following through with some building inspections. We've only ever had 2. Yeah, we've only ever had 2 reserve line items, and we've always done straight line.
Okay, so let me answer your question.
We've never had any difficulty.
Let me answer your question, okay? Because here's where it gets complicated. Here's where you need a master's in condominium law because it really gets confused. So she is in a condominium that's under 3 stories.
Right.
So because it's under 3 stories, right?
And not in Miami-Dade with square footage.
Right, but under 3 stories, you don't have to do a structural integrity reserve study, okay? You don't have to do it. There's nothing in the law that requires it.
But they did
it. So what do we do now? Condominiums under 3 stories still have to do reserves for roof, pavement, and painting. Right? The requirement to do that was not taken out of the statute. So if you're under 3 stories, you still have to do roof, pavement, and painting, but you could waive it if you want to. Okay? So the question is I think her name was Ruth, maybe.
Mary Lou.
Oh, Mary Lou. Ruth, Mary Lou, same thing. So apologize for that, Mary Lou. So in her condominium, they did the structural integrity reserve study. They did it, even though they didn't have to do a structural integrity reserve study. But they have to follow the criteria for roof, pavement, and painting.
Well, if they found something wrong, wouldn't you want to pay for it anyway?
But they have to do it. They have to reserve now for roof, pavement, and painting, unless the majority of the units in that condominium vote to waive the reserves.
So 65?
What did she have?
64 doors,
units? 64 doors, so 33.
Oh, 33.
33. It used to be a majority. It used to be a majority of a quorum.
Yeah.
Now it's a majority of all units. Okay, so it gets very confusing. Again, if you're under 3 stories, you still have to have reserves, but roof, pavement, and painting at a minimum, and anything $10,000 or more, but you don't have to have the structural integrity reserve study that's required for condominiums 3 stories or taller, if that makes sense to everybody. It does. Complicated.
It does make sense to me, but they went ahead and did it anyway,
Right.
and are now. And see, we've always had reserve. We don't do paving; that's taken care of by our master association.
Okay.
But we have always, for over 20 years, had reserves for painting and roof.
Right.
And we've always done it with the formula,
Right.
and X number of years useful life, all of that calculation. Our roofs are only 2 years old. We had them replaced already. So by the company's estimate, they're supposed to last us 25 years.
Right. So the amount that you're putting away.
The previous
hold
board
on.
took that list.
Very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to educate the public here, so that the amount that you're putting away towards your roof reserve should be very low, because your roof is not going to be due to be replaced for another 23 years or so. Right. So that should be a small number. Okay.
Right. And our paint job is also about 2 years old. And we always figured on 10 years useful life.
Great. So the amount that you're contributing towards reserves on those 2 types of components should be very low. Should be a very low reserve number. Right?
It should be.
Okay. But I'm guessing you're saying that because they included everything else, it's a high number?
It is a high number,
Yeah.
I think. And Yeah, and then they also wanted to go to the pooled reserves
Right.
instead of doing straight line for 2 items.
Okay. So tell you is, you heard what you're required to do here. You're not
Yep.
required to do
I
all of
did.
those items.
I did.
So the only way that, you can go over and above what the board wants to do is if you get the unit owners together, right? And you get 33 of them to say, we don't want that many items in our reserve category. Therefore, we're voting to waive reserves. And that will get the board to the bargaining table, perhaps, and maybe you can have a compromise where you can do partially funded reserves. I mean, I'm sure the board knows that. Hold on.
Those 2 straight line items have always been fully funded.
Right.
Except for way back in the beginning when the development was turning over from the, our condo community was being turned over by the developer. We had to learn and, do the calculations and make sure that we had, enough money in that line. And of course, we did have to get money out of an insurance settlement to replace them because they were ruined during Irma.
Right.
So that's why they're in a good condition, and we also have a warranty on them from the company that installed them. So to me, it should be simple, and these fellows have made it very complex.
So if it's that simple, hold on.
The pool
Rob,
reserve.
turn her down. Yep. We're not getting through. So if it's that simple, everybody comes up to me at the seminar and says, I got a very, very simple question.
Oh boy.
If it's so simple, I guess you should know the answer without asking me, right? So she thinks this is very,
razor.
very, very simple. Yeah. If it's so simple, then why is the phone call taking 10 minutes? It's not simple. These things are not simple. Did my answer sound simple? Did it sound simplistic?
No,
These
but
things are complicated right now.
I can't even do the math on the majority.
Right. Right. If you can't do that, the rest is going to be a problem. So in all candor, this is complicated stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's why you have a job.
In her type of position, where the board wants to do a lot, good for them. She doesn't want to do a lot. Then she's holding the authority to get. If she gets the other unit owners together.
33.
33. She can say, guess what, guys? You're not doing any reserves. You want to do over and beyond? Well, guess what? You're doing 0. So when that happens, potentially, work out a reasonable solution, but she holds no power if she can't get the 33.
But I want
That's
to
the
make
bottom
sure
line.
what they found and what they need the money for, if it's safety, make sure.
Well, do it, right,
Yeah.
then why not do
What
it?
the heck?
But maybe she can't afford it, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
others
but-
can't afford it. But if you can show the board you're about to get the 33,
Yeah, in your case, you have
you
bargaining
may
power.
get to the 33, and there's the bargaining power. On that note, that brings us to the end of another week. Great show today.
Yeah.
Guys, if you need legal help off the air, please contact Glazer and Sachs, 954-983-1112.
By the way, you're
Again-
going to be in Broward on
Oh,
February
we didn't even
18th.
do it. Yeah, really
Elena
fast.
Condo.
Sorry about that. Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing you said that. The seminars are continuing in full steam ahead. I apologize for that.
Are you-
Good. Thanks,
okay.
Karen. February 18th, this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be at the L&L Condo and HOA Expo, Broward Convention Center. I mean, these are filling
April 3rd, right.
so
You going
fast.
to do Miami?
We got to do Miami.
You have to
We
do
got to
Miami.
figure out how to do Miami,
Okay.
right? If Miami's like the redheaded stepchild out there. The problem is that when you do Miami, and I
No
hate
one
saying
shows up.
this, no one shows up. Maybe now they'll show up because it's mandatory. But yeah, someone has to do
So
Miami.
that's April 3rd in Broward, April
Yes.
16th in Tampa, April 22nd in Palm Beach County, and May 14th in Orlando. Those are all L&O Condo and HOA. Starts at 8 o'clock. You can sign up where?
CondoCrazeandHOAs.com. Again,
And then-
CondoCrazeandHOAs.com. Again, Tuesday, we will see you at the Broward Convention Center.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
8 o'clock. And the 18th is Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday. So we'll see you Tuesday at the Broward Convention Center, 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, you need legal help off the air. Glazer and Sachs, 954-983-1112. And no matter what, we'll see and speak to you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. on Condo Craze and HOAs. Everybody have a wonderful, safe week.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Robert.